welcome back. In this session, we're stepping into Voices of the Self, a powerful section on autobiographies from India and the diaspora. This genre is not just about telling one story. It's about claiming space, identity, and memory. In India, autobiographical writing spans politics, cinema, sports, and the lives of marginalized communities. Each voice offers a unique lens into how personal histories intersect with national change. What makes these works truly special is how they reveal not just who these people are, but what shaped them. In this part, we'll explore some of the most celebrated autobiographies, grouped by the worlds they come from. Whether it's an athlete, a politician, an artist, or someone from the diaspora, each memoir becomes a bridge between self and society, between private memory and public history. Let's get started. We begin with a powerful cluster of life stories. Autobiographies rooted in politics, resistance, and public life. In India, when political leaders write about themselves, it's never just personal. These narratives blur the lines between memory and history, between individual journey and collective struggle. We start with A.M.K. Gandhi's The Story of My Experiments with Truth, published in 1927. Gandhi doesn't just tell his story. He builds an ethical and spiritual foundation for India's freedom movement. It became the template for writing the self as a moral force. Next is Subhash Chandra Bose's The Indian Struggle, written in 1934. Though political in structure, it is filled with moments of personal reflection. Through this work, Bose envisioned an anti-colonial and pan-Asian solidarity that moved beyond the Congress mainstream. Then comes B.R. Ambedkar's Waiting for a Visa, written between 1935 and 36. Short but powerful, this account of caste discrimination is more than a personal narrative. It stands as the collective voice of Dalit resistance. Jawaharlal Nehru's An Autobiography, written in 1936, was composed in prison. It blends deep introspection with political critique and captures a time when nationalism, modernity, and identity were all in flux. Fast forward to APJ Abdul Kalam's Wings of Fire, published in 1999. It traces a remarkable journey from Rameshwaram to Rashtrapati Bhavan. This inspiring memoir continues to motivate students with its message of science, humility, and service. L.K. Advani's My Country, My Life, released in 2008, gives a detailed view of Hindutva politics. From the Ram Janmabhoomi movement to the rise of the BJP, the memoir reads like a chronicle of political conviction. Karan Singh's An Examined Life, published in 2006, is a reflective work that blends personal essays with public memory. It reveals his views on secularism, identity, and governance through a deeply philosophical lens. Then we have Shanti Bhushan's My Second Innings, from 2018, which walks us through courtroom battles, the emergency, and public activism. His story reflects a lifelong commitment to legal reform and democratic values. Ranjan Gogoi's Justice for the Judge, released in 2021, discusses his years in the judiciary. From Ayodhya to NRC, the book shares his reflections on independence, justice, and his entry into the Rajya Sabha. And finally, T.N. Sheshan's Through the Broken Glass, published posthumously, tells the story of the man who transformed the Election Commission of India. His voice remains one of fearless reform and institutional integrity. Together, these autobiographies do more than tell personal stories. They show us the India that was imagined, contested, and transformed through the lives of those who led from the front. We begin with Deepti Naval's A Country Called Childhood, a deeply lyrical reflection on growing up in post-independence India. Known for her roles in Samanantar cinema, Deepti weaves memory with poetics, capturing the soul of small-town life and the birth of an artist's sensibility. Her previous poetry, like Black Wind and other poems, gives her prose a gentle rhythm that turns simple moments into emotional revelations. Next, we revisit R.K. Narayan's My Days, published in 1974. This is a charming, literary self-portrait filled with quiet humor, subtle insights, and reflections on writing in a changing nation. Narayan takes us from his childhood in Madras to his struggles as an emerging author, all while preserving the grace and simplicity that defined his fiction. Unlike Western memoirs that often dwell in confession, his tone is reserved, mirroring the world of Malgudi he so lovingly created. These artistic autobiographies invite us to see how memory becomes style, how storytelling becomes selfhood, and how a life lived in art becomes a lens to understand a nation. Diaspora and displacement. Writing in transit brings together life stories shaped by exile, migration, and fragmented belonging. These autobiographies navigate liminal spaces where memory floats between nations and identity takes form across languages, cultures, and histories. V.S. Naipaul's The Enigma of Arrival, published in 1987, reads like a novel but closely mirrors his own life in post-colonial England. Through its slow meditative pace, the work explores solitude, cultural alienation, and the quiet unraveling of colonial legacies. His earlier novel, A House for Mr. Biswas, from 1961, is rooted in his family's experience in Trinidad. Though fictional, it captures the story of his father's struggle for selfhood under colonial constraints, becoming a deeply personal narrative of resistance and identity. Complementing these is his non-fiction trilogy, India, A Wounded Civilization from 1977 and India, A Million Mutinies Now from 1990. Both texts mix autobiography, travel, and cultural critique as Naipaul confronts his ancestral land through a diasporic lens, grappling with caste, religion, and national identity. Jhumpa Lahiris. In other words, published in 2015, turns language into a site of exile. Written in Italian, it reflects her voluntary displacement into a new linguistic world where fluency is emotional rather than perfect. It's a quiet yet bold redefinition of selfhood beyond geography. In Bird Milk and Mosquito Bones from 2023, Priyanka Mattoo blends memories of her childhood in Kashmir with her life in the United States. Through lyrical fragments, she pieces together the emotional cost of displacement and the fragile art of rebuilding belonging in a new world. These narratives reveal how autobiography becomes a map of loss, recovery, and transformation. In telling their stories, these writers show that being between worlds is not a void but a space of profound creative possibility. Marginal Voices and Radical Testimonies brings us to a powerful shift in autobiographical writing where the focus turns from privilege to protest. These are not stories told for aesthetic pleasure but for ethical urgency. They speak from the margins and write back to structures that have silenced them. Om Prakash Valmiki's Joothan, published in 1997, is a landmark in Dalit Atmakatha. Recounting his childhood in a samaj of manual scavengers, the narrative is raw, relentless, and unapologetic. The title itself, meaning leftover scraps, symbolizes the lifelong stigma of untouchability. Baby Kamble's The Prisons We Broke, originally written in 1986 and translated into English in 2008, is among the first autobiographies by a Dalit Mahila. Her voice cuts through the layered violence of jati, gender, and garibi. Her story is a witness, not a confession. Shantabai Krishnaji Kamble's Maja Jalmachi Chitarkatha, published in 1983, holds the distinction of being the first female Dalit autobiography in Marathi. Her life as a shikshak, a lekhika, and a woman caught in structures of social exclusion becomes a poignant map of quiet rebellion. These autobiographies do not seek approval, they demand recognition. In centering truth over form and resistance over polish, they redefine what it means to write the self in a fractured world. In India, a sporting autobiography is more than just a celebration of medals or milestones. It's a story of identity, sometimes regional, sometimes national, and always personal. These memoirs offer a behind-the-scenes glimpse into lives driven by routine, sacrifice, and raw ambition. And in a cricket-obsessed country, they often serve as the only way to hear stories from beyond the stadium lights. We begin with the legendary Dhyan Chand and his autobiography Goal, published in 1952. It captures his journey from military service to becoming the face of Indian hockey across 3 Olympic golds. His tone is humble, but the legacy is monumental. Next comes Sunil Gavaskar. His Sunny Days, written in 1976, is among the earliest cricketing memoirs from India. It offers an intimate portrait of his debut, childhood, and entry into international cricket. Then, in 1984, he published Idols, where he reflects on the cricketers who shaped his path, and Runs and Ruins, a brutally honest reflection on form, failure, and resilience in elite cricket. Nasir Hussain's Playing with Fire, published in 2004, is an important diasporic contribution. Born in Chennai but raised in England, Hussain blends tactical commentary with reflections on identity, race, and ambition in a multicultural world. In the same year, Kapil Dev Straight from the Heart charts his rise to captaincy, his World Cup win, and the personal values that guided him through victories and controversies. Moving to global tennis, Open by Andre Agassi, released in 2009, though not Indian, has deeply impacted Indian readers. His honesty, self-doubt, and emotional intensity make it a blueprint for psychological storytelling in sports. Anil Kumble's Wide Angle from 2011 combines narrative with photography, offering a rare artistic take on cricket life, quiet moments, team dynamics, and candid frames. Saina Nehwal's Playing to Win, published in 2012, tells the story of small-town ambition that challenged national sporting hierarchies. Her victories in badminton are tied to discipline and overcoming injuries, pressure, and expectation. In 2013, we get The Race of My Life by Milkha Singh, co-written with his beti Sonia Samvalka. It spans partition trauma, discipline in the army, and a track career that turned him into the flying Sikh. In the same year, Yuvraj Singh's The Test of My Life gives us not just cricket but cancer survival. It's a deeply moving story of diagnosis, recovery, and the dream of return. Also in 2013, Mary Com's Unbreakable, written with Deena Serto, charts her path from rural Manipur to world boxing titles. Her life speaks of grit, motherhood, and fighting stereotypes about gender and region. 2014 gave us Playing It My Way by Sachin Tendulkar. This blockbuster memoir broke sales records and became an instant classic. It chronicles his 24-year journey through Indian cricket with behind-the-scenes moments and personal anecdotes fans had never heard before. Sania Mirza's Ace Against Odds, released in 2016, brings a bold, sharp voice to tennis. Her reflections move beyond the court to address media pressure, body shaming, and resilience. 2017 gave us Sanjay Manjurekar's Imperfect, a brutally self-aware account. It's less about glory and more about doubt, missteps, and finding meaning post-retirement. Finally, in 2018, Saurav Ganguly's A Century Is Not Enough captures the transformation of Indian cricket. From aggression to self-belief, Ganguly's story traces how India learned to stand tall in the cricketing world. Together, these autobiographies don't just document achievements, they illuminate the backstage of excellence. They show how sporting lives are built not in arenas, but in the hours before dawn, in silence, sweat, and solitude.